My name's Elise, and my story isn't one of those fairy tales you're used to hearing. My dad was the king of his castle, and we were just living in it. My mom, she was more like the silent enforcer, backing up every one of Dad's rules with a nod and a look that could freeze you in place. Then there was my sister, Anna. She was older by a couple of years and had always been the rebel, trying to push the boundaries, but even she couldn't break the iron will of our father. Our home life? It was a series of do's and don'ts. Don't talk back. Do as you're told. Don't stay out late. Do your chores. The list went on and on. It wasn't just the rules, it was the cold way they were enforced. Love and warmth were scarce, replaced by a rigid discipline that stifled us. One day, Anna got caught up in a teenage dream. She met a guy, Dave, kind-hearted and with a smile that could light up the darkest days. But he made the mistake of not fitting into Dad's view of suitable. I remember the day she brought him over, all nervous and hopeful. The air was thick with tension. Dad took one look at him and the sparks flew. "What do you think you're doing, bringing this, nobody into my house?" he barked, voice booming like thunder. Anna's eyes were wide, tears brimming, but she didn't dare let them fall. She knew better than to challenge Dad openly. "Dad, please, he's a good person," she whispered, barely audible. "Good? Good doesn't pay the bills. Get him out of my sight," he spat, turning his back on them both. That night, Anna cried in silence, her dreams shattered. She didn't dare disobey Dad, and that was the end of her and Dave. It was a lesson in our harsh reality. Love wasn't about feelings, it was about fitting into the strict mold Dad had set. As for me, I watched and learned. I knew better than to get caught in the crossfire. I kept my head down, followed the rules, and counted down the days until I could escape. The day I left for college felt like my first breath of fresh air in years. The day I left for college felt like I was finally taking a sledgehammer to the chains that had bound me my whole life. My bags were packed, and I was ready to bolt out the door, but not without one last showdown with the warden, my dad. "Elise, you think you're ready for the big world out there?" Dad's voice was like gravel, tough and unyielding. He stood in the doorway, a towering figure that I was about to leave behind. "I'm more than ready, Dad. I've been ready," I shot back, my voice stronger than I felt. Inside, my stomach was doing flips, but there was no way I'd let him see that. Mom was in the background, wringing her hands, the eternal peacemaker. "Be safe, dear. Remember to call us, every day," she said, her voice trailing off as if she already knew the impossibility of her request. College was a blur of new experiences, late nights, and the kind of freedom that was intoxicating. I made friends, actual friends, who liked me for me, not because of some unspoken family obligation. One night, in our cramped little dorm, my roommate, Jess, and I were sprawled out on our beds, talking about everything and nothing at the same time. "So, Elise, you ever gonna call your folks? You've been here a month, and I haven't seen you pick up the phone once," Jess asked, her tone casual, but probing. I sighed, staring at the ceiling as if it held the answers. "I talk to my mom now and then. But every call feels like a leash tightening around my neck. It's always, 'Are you eating well? Are you studying hard? Remember who you are.'" Jess laughed, a light, easy sound. "Sounds like my mom, but on steroids. They're just worried about you, you know? It's a big world out here." The college life was turning into everything I hoped it'd be, a stark contrast to the suffocating grip of my parents' house. I was finally feeling the weight lift off my shoulders, getting used to the idea of living on my own terms. Then, out of nowhere, my bubble burst when my mom decided to drop a surprise visit. I was in the middle of a laugh with Jess when there was a knock on our door. The last person I expected to see on the other side was my mother, standing there with a look that could sour milk. "Elise, what is this place? It's so small," she said, her nose wrinkling as she stepped inside, eyeing Jess like she was some sort of street urchin. Jess, ever the brave soul, extended her hand. "Hi, Mrs. Martin, I'm Jess. Elise's roommate." Mom looked at Jess's hand like it was covered in dirt but shook it anyway. "Jess, is it? Elise, can I have a word with you, in private?" The way she said "in private" made it sound like we were about to discuss state secrets instead of whatever she had on her mind. Once we were alone, she wasted no time. "Elise, that girl, she's not the right sort of friend for you. She's vulgar," she hissed, her voice laced with disdain. I felt my cheeks burning, a mix of anger and embarrassment stewing inside me. "Mom, Jess is a great person. She's been nothing but kind to me." Ignoring me, Mom began rifling through my closet, her hands moving from one piece of clothing to another with a speed born of disapproval. "And these clothes? They're far too revealing. What on earth are you thinking, wearing things like this?" Each word felt like a slap, stripping away the independence I'd started to build. I wanted to scream, to tell her to stop, but the words wouldn't come. All I could do was stand there, silently fuming and fighting back tears. After what felt like an eternity, Mom left, leaving a trail of silence in her wake. I collapsed on the bed, the dam finally breaking as tears streamed down my face. Jess came in soon after, sitting beside me without a word. She handed me a tissue and waited for the storm to pass. "Elise, screw what your mom thinks, okay? You're awesome, and if wearing a tank top is the biggest of your sins, then you're practically a saint," Jess said, her voice a mix of anger and comfort. "You're your own person, Elise. Don't forget that." Her words, simple and straightforward, were like a beacon in the fog. Jess was right. I was my own person, and it was high time I started living like one. After college, I landed a job in a big company known for its semi-finished meat products. The boss, Michael, was this young guy, grandson of the founder. Kind of hot, if I'm being honest, but in a "I've got my life together" kind of way, which was intimidating and attractive all at once. One day, he called me into his office. My heart was racing, thinking I'd messed up a report or something. "Elise, can you come in here for a second?" His voice was calm but carried across the sales floor like he was announcing the next big product launch. I walked in, trying to look confident but probably failing miserably. "Yes, Michael?" He was leaning back in his chair, reports scattered across his desk. "I've been reviewing your work. You've got an eye for detail. Impressive," he said, his eyes not leaving the papers. I didn't know where to look. Was this a compliment or the prelude to a "but"? "Thank you, I try my best," I managed to say, feeling my face heat up. "No, thank you. It's refreshing to see someone take their work seriously around here. Keep it up," he said, finally looking up with a smile that made my knees weak. Fast forward a few months, Michael got transferred to another department. We barely saw each other, which was probably for the best. I mean, dating your boss? That's a recipe for disaster, right? Then, as fate would have it, we bumped into each other at the supermarket. I was inspecting some sad-looking avocados when I heard his voice. "Finding anything good?" I turned around, and there he was, casually dressed, which was a stark contrast to the suits I was used to seeing him in. "Michael. Hi. Just, trying to decide if these avocados are worth it," I stammered, feeling like a complete idiot. He laughed, a sound that was way too charming. "Let me give you a tip. This one," he picked up an avocado, "is perfect. See? Firm, but not too hard." We ended up talking more about fruits and vegetables than I ever thought possible. One thing led to another, and we found ourselves having dinner together. It was casual, easy conversation that felt like we were just two people getting to know each other, not an employee and her boss. After that night, things changed. We started seeing each other outside of work, keeping it on the down low, of course. It was nice, comfortable. But I couldn't shake off the fear of what my parents would think, so I kept it a secret from them. A year flew by with Michael, each day feeling like a step further away from my old life and closer to something that was entirely ours. One chilly evening in November, Michael took me out for what I thought was just another date night. We ended up at this quaint little spot downtown that had the best view of the city. It was more romantic than our usual hangouts, and I should have guessed something was up. As we sat there, looking over the city lights, he got all serious, which wasn't like him. "Elise, these past months with you have been incredible. You've shown me what it really means to be in love," he started, his voice steady, but I could tell he was nervous. I was caught off guard. "Michael, what's going on?" My heart started racing, not sure what to expect. He took a deep breath, reached into his pocket, and before I knew it, he was down on one knee, holding the most beautiful ring I'd ever seen. "Elise, will you marry me?" My heart stopped. This was it, the moment I'd dreamed about but never really thought would happen, at least not under these circumstances. "Yes, Michael, a million times yes," I managed to say, tears of joy blurring my vision. The euphoria of our engagement was overwhelming, but it was short-lived. The thought of telling my parents loomed over us like a dark cloud. I knew I couldn't keep this a secret forever. The fear of their reaction was paralyzing, but Michael was supportive, encouraging even. "We should tell them, Elise. It's the right thing to do," he said one night as we were discussing, more like avoiding, the subject. The day we decided to tell my parents, my stomach was in knots. We drove to their house, the silence in the car heavy with unsaid fears and unasked questions. Sitting across from my parents in the living room felt like being in a courtroom, waiting for the judge's final verdict. "Mom, Dad, we have something to tell you. Michael and we're engaged," I blurted out, not trusting myself to build up to it gently. First, there was shock, then a frosty sort of acceptance once they learned Michael wasn't just some guy, but a guy with a hefty bank account. The real drama unfolded when Mom started laying out her grand plan for the wedding. "We need to have it in the church, with all the trimmings. It'll be magnificent," she said, her eyes already picturing the event. I could feel my dream of a simple, intimate wedding slipping through my fingers. "Mom, Michael and I were thinking something low-key. Just sign the papers and have a small party. That's it," I said, hoping to steer her away from her grand designs. Her reaction was as if I'd suggested we get married in a fast food joint. "Unacceptable. A girl's wedding day is her most special day. I'll take care of everything. Don't you worry," she said, dismissing my wishes with a wave of her hand. I felt my temper flare. "But it's our wedding, shouldn't we get to decide how we want it?" I protested, but Dad cut me off mid-sentence. "If you don't do it this way, you might as well not do it at all. No blessing from us," he said, his tone final, leaving no room for argument. Michael had been quiet up till now, trying to keep the peace. But even he seemed to falter under the weight of their expectations. "Maybe we should just go along with it, Elise," he whispered to me, a hint of defeat in his voice. I couldn't believe my ears. Betrayal stung me, sharp and unexpected, from the man I'd just agreed to marry. My parents, seeing his compliance, practically beamed with victory. The ride back from their place was heavy with my disappointment. But as soon as we were alone, Michael took my hands in his. "Listen, Elise, I only said that to calm things down. We're not doing it their way. We're doing it our way, okay? Let them think what they want for now," he said, his voice firm, his eyes telling me he meant every word. I was in the middle of discussing cake flavors over the phone with Michael when the doorbell rang. The moment I opened the box, my heart sank. It was for me, a wedding dress. But not just any dress. It was the epitome of what I never wanted in a wedding gown. Layers upon layers of tulle, a bodice that looked more like armor, and a train that seemed long enough to cover a football field. It was horrendous. Staring in disbelief, I called Michael back, panic edging my voice. "You won't believe this. My mom sent over a wedding dress. It's like a cake topper from the 80s got turned into a dress." Michael's laugh did little to soothe my rising hysteria. "Maybe it's not that bad? Try it on?" "Try it on? Michael, this thing has its own zip code. It's a disaster," I shot back, the image of me drowning in layers of lace burning in my mind. Before I could spiral further, I decided to confront my mom. Dialing with trembling fingers, I braced myself for the inevitable showdown. "Mom, why did you send me a wedding dress?" "We talked about this. Michael and I are doing things our way," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. There was a pause on the other end, and then, "Elise, darling, that dress is a masterpiece. It's what every girl dreams of. You'll thank me." "A masterpiece? Mom, it's not me. It's not us. We want simple, remember?" My patience was thinning, each word a struggle to maintain civility. "Simple is for table settings, not weddings." "You'll wear it, and you'll look beautiful," she retorted, her voice leaving no room for argument. "Elise, listen to me. Your father and I have already taken care of everything. The hall is booked, and plans are set. You're going to have the wedding every girl dreams of." Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. "What do you mean, everything's set? Michael and I haven't agreed to any of this." I could feel my voice rising, a mix of anger and disbelief swirling inside me. "It's done, Elise. We've even sent out the guest list. It's going to be a beautiful event," she said, her tone final, cutting off any avenue for protest. I hung up, feeling defeated and betrayed. It felt like I was being steamrolled into someone else's version of my wedding. When I relayed the conversation to Michael, his face fell. "Yeah, your mom called me. She insisted I cover half of the budget she's drawn up. Sent me the bill, the hall address, and some wedding design proposal," he admitted, looking like he'd swallowed something sour. "And the guest list, she sent that to you too?" I asked, dreading the answer. Michael nodded. "Yeah, it's packed with people I've never met. And I didn't see any of your relatives on it. Your mom mentioned something about keeping it exclusive." The realization that my parents were orchestrating a wedding that catered to their social circle, sidelining our wishes, and even my own family, was too much. Tears streamed down my face as the enormity of their manipulation sank in. Seeing me crumble, Michael wrapped his arms around me. "Hey, we're not going to let this happen. We'll have our wedding, our way. Just us, our friends, and whoever we want. No dictates, no lists. Let's do it secretly, the way we want." I needed an ally, someone who could understand the madness of defying our parents on such a grand scale. Naturally, my thoughts turned to Anna, my sister, the one person who'd always understood the weight of our parents' expectations. So, I called her up, heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. "Anna, I need you to be super chill about what I'm about to tell you. Michael and we're planning a do-over. A real wedding that's all about us, no parental strings attached." I spilled, the words tumbling out in a rush. Her response was immediate, a mix of shock and awe. "Holy smokes, Elise. That's huge. I'm in. What do you need from me?" Relief washed over me. "We're thinking something simple, outdoors. Just love, laughter, and the people who really matter. No drama, no spectacle. Can you help keep the lid on this? It's top secret. Consider it locked down. I'm so proud of you, Elise. It's about time you took your life back from them," Anna said, her voice brimming with excitement and a touch of mischief. With Anna's help, we started planning in earnest. Invitations went out, with a clear, almost spy-like message. This is a covert operation. Do not, under any circumstances, let the rents know. Our friends and family were in. The buzz of excitement was palpable, a shared secret that bound us all together in a way I'd never experienced before. Then came the call from Aunt Clara, a relative I hadn't expected to hear from. "Elise, darling, I got your invitation. Your mother hasn't stopped going on about some lavish affair, but I knew something was up. You're doing the right thing, love. Don't worry, my lips are sealed. Heaven knows she didn't want me at her version of your wedding anyway. Said I didn't fit the guest list aesthetic." Her words, so full of support and understanding, bolstered my resolve. This was more than a wedding, It was a statement, a reclaiming of our choices, our voices. The week leading up to the official wedding, my parents' version, was a masterclass in acting. Michael and I went through the motions, nodding along to plans, tasting cakes that tasted like cardboard, and smiling through gritted teeth. It was a performance worthy of an award, but our eyes were on the prize. Then, on a day not our wedding, as not our guests gathered at some impersonal hall, Michael and I were boarding a plane to Bali, our hearts light, free from the weight of expectations. Bali was everything we wanted, intimate, breathtakingly beautiful, and so us. We exchanged vows near a waterfall, the sound of rushing water a perfect backdrop to our promises of forever. After our secret wedding in Bali, the reality of facing the fallout with my parents was a cloud hanging over our return. I knew the storm was brewing, it was only a matter of time before it broke. The first call came from Anna, who was both excited and nervous for us. "You guys back yet? The hurricane's about to hit land here," she said, her voice a mix of amusement and concern. "Yeah, we just landed. How bad is it?" I braced myself for the impact, clutching the phone like a lifeline. "Mom and Dad are on the warpath. They found out about Bali when they tried calling you to berate you for being late to your own wedding. When they realized where you were, all hell broke loose," Anna explained, the words tumbling out in a hurried whisper. Dialing my parents' number felt like the longest few seconds of my life. The phone rang twice before my mom's voice came through, icy and sharp. "Elise, where do you think you've been? Do you have any idea of the embarrassment you've caused us?" "Mom, I'm sorry you feel embarrassed, but this was about what Michael and I wanted. We needed our wedding to be true to us, not a spectacle," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Dad thinks we should cut you off, you know. After this stunt, maybe he's right," she added, the threat hanging in the air like a guillotine. The anger in her words was palpable, but so was the conviction in my response. "If that's what you think is best, then so be it. But Michael and I made a choice for our happiness. I wish you could be happy for us." The line went dead, her silence a clear indication of the breach that had formed between us. The aftermath was a mix of relief and sorrow. Relief that Michael and I had followed our hearts, but sorrow for the rift that now lay between my family and me. As the day of our real celebration drew closer, a gnawing worry kept me up at night, the fear of my parents crashing the party, hell-bent on making a scene. Michael, ever the rock, saw the turmoil I was in and came up with a solution. "Let's get some security. Keep the drama at the gate. This day's about us, not them," he said, his decision firm, leaving no room for argument. The day of the party was nothing short of magical. We chose a minimalist outdoor style for the celebration, with simple, elegant decorations that complemented the natural beauty around us. As dusk fell, electric garlands lit up the venue, casting a warm glow over the faces of our friends and relatives. It was like something out of a dream. Standing beside Michael, both of us dressed to the nines, I felt a surge of happiness so intense it was almost overwhelming. Our guests came up to us, one by one, showering us with congratulations and warm wishes. Anna was beaming, her happiness for us clear as day, while Aunt Clara, bless her heart, kept me in a tight hug before pulling me into every dance. The night was perfect, a true celebration of our love and the life we were building together. But then, the inevitable happened. Word got to me through one of the security guys that my parents had shown up, determined to force their way in. My heart sank. I had hoped it wouldn't come to this. Michael squeezed my hand, a silent vow that we'd face this together. I approached the entrance, where my parents stood, arguing with the security. "This is my daughter's wedding. You can't keep me out," my dad bellowed, his face red with anger. "Please, you need to leave. You weren't invited. I made it clear, no drama today," I said, my voice steady though my heart was racing. My mom tried to push past the security, her eyes blazing. "You can't do this to us. We're your parents." But the security held firm, a gentle but unyielding barrier between us and them. "I don't want to have to call the police, but I will if I have to. Please, just go," I said, the finality in my voice surprising even me. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of joy and celebration. Every dance, every laugh, every shared look with Michael reaffirmed my belief that we had made the right choice. We were happy, truly happy, surrounded by the people who mattered most.